Next on the news.
We're talking about a civil rights issue here, the right to life of the baby, the innocent baby in the womb.
New York religious leaders weighing in on the Supreme Court leak and a possible overturn of Roe v. Wade. Pope Francis with a warning for the Moscow patriarch over the war in Ukraine. The Federal Reserve making a historic decision about interest rates, how it's supposed to help drive down inflation. Plus,
I'm so happy. I'm so grateful to you.
A joyful reunion between a daughter and her birth mother after an exhaustive search. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. Protests and praise after that document from the Supreme Court about Roe v. Wade was leaked. It indicates as of now that the majority of justices plan to vote in favor of overturning the decision that's guaranteed the right to abortions for half a century. Catholic leaders are hopeful, while at the same time, pro-abortion activists take to the streets. The leaked draft sparking protests across the country. And prompting questions. Chief Justice John Roberts.
Do you plan to investigate the leak?
Seen here leaving his home Tuesday, issued a statement calling the leak an egregious breach. He has directed the marshal of the court to investigate. The court confirms the draft is authentic, but cautioned it does not represent a decision or position of any member on the issues in the case. The nearly 100-page opinion says a majority of justices are prepared to uphold a Mississippi law that would ban abortion after 15 weeks and overturn Roe v. Wade, which established a right to abortion 50 years ago, leaving it to individual states to determine abortion's legality. Justice Samuel Alito authored the draft, stating there's no inherent right to abortion, writing the Constitution makes no reference to abortion and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision. Alito says Roe was egregiously wrong from the start and that its reasoning was exceptionally weak and the decision has had damaging consequences.
I obviously share in what I understand is the widespread chagrin about this very leak.
Cardinal Timothy Dolan found out about the leak as he arrived home late Tuesday night from his trip to visit Ukrainian refugees. New York's Archbishop saying he hopes the leaked document is true.
It's not a religious issue. We're talking about a civil rights issue here, the right to life of the baby, the innocent baby in the womb.
Catholic leaders are praying the High Court will overturn Roe v. Wade. Archbishop Joseph Naumann, former chair of the USCCB Pro-Life Committee, released this statement saying, "This would be a great human rights advancement for our nation. There is no right to abortion in our Constitution. Abortion was certainly not in the minds of our founders." The USCCB's Committee on Pro-Life Activities also released a statement. Archbishop William Lori said the leak reminded us of the urgent need for prayer and action at this pivotal moment in our country. He also said the bishops stand ready to help all pregnant women in need. The court's opinion is not expected to be published until late next month and could still change as draft opinions circulate and justices can change their minds. To get a better idea of where the justices stand, here are their past rulings on abortion. Chief Justice John Roberts has previously voted to uphold restrictions in two major abortion cases, including a 2016 case when the court struck down restrictions in Texas on abortion. Justice Roberts continues to believe that case was wrongly decided. In his first term in court, Justice Clarence Thomas actually voted to overturn Roe. He has repeatedly called for it to be overturned ever since. Justice Stephen Breyer has written two court majorities in defense of abortion rights in 2000 and 2016. He has never voted to sustain an abortion restriction. Justice Samuel Alito has a long record of pro-life votes and writings. He has voted to uphold every abortion law the court has considered, and even before his confirmation, he voted to uphold a series of Pennsylvania abortion restrictions as a federal appeals court judge. While Justice Sonia Sotomayor had virtually no record on abortion rights before becoming a Supreme Court justice, she has since voted pro-abortion repeatedly. Justice Elena Kagan also repeatedly voting in favor of abortion for more than 11 11 years. Justice Neil Gorsuch has the shortest record on abortion among the justices, but he did vote for Texas's heartbeat bill and voted to uphold Louisiana's abortion clinic restrictions in 2020. Justice Brett Kavanaugh voted the same, and before his nomination, he wrote extensively on abortion. And finally, Justice Amy Coney Barrett's one public vote was for the Texas law. Barrett has a long record of personal opposition to abortion rights, but has said in the past that Roe's core, that women have a right to abortion, shouldn't change, but that restrictions should be upheld. President Joe Biden gave his thoughts on Roe v. Wade following the Supreme Court leak Wednesday, contradicting his Catholic faith.
Think what Roe says. Roe says what all basic mainstream religions have historically concluded, that the existence of a human life and being is a question. Is it at the moment of conception? Is it 6 months? Is it 6 weeks? Is it quickening, like Aquinas argued?
According to Catholic teaching, life begins at conception. The president went on to say he thinks the codification of Roe v. Wade, quote, makes sense. To the war in Ukraine now. Russia pounded railroad stations and other supply points Wednesday. The Kremlin claims the West is, quote, stuffing Ukraine with weapons. But while the U.S. is ready and willing to help the country, a dangerous side effect is emerging. The U.S. weapons inventory is running low. Alex Marquardt reports.
The stunning success the much smaller Ukrainian military has had against the Russian invaders would not be possible without the billions of dollars worth of U.S. and NATO weapons flooding into Ukraine. Notably, the thousands of easy-to-use, highly portable American Javelins and Stingers that for more than 2 months have taken out countless Russian tanks and aircraft.
Sometimes we will speak softly and carry a large javelin, because we're sending a lot of those in as well.
So many, in fact, that now the U.S. inventory of Stingers and Javelins is running dangerously low.
The closet is bare. Just to give you one example, the United States military has probably dispensed about 1/3 of its Javelin anti-tank missiles to Ukraine.
While the U.S. wants to give Ukraine what it needs, Pentagon war planners must balance that with not letting supplies dip below what the U.S. needs.
I think we're at that moment now with Javelins and Stingers. The recent aid packages have not included any more of these missiles. To me, that indicates that the war planners have raised a flag here, and the civilian leadership doesn't want to exhaust these inventories further.
The Biden administration has just requested almost $5.5 billion from Congress to replenish its stocks. But the Pentagon insists the aid packages for Ukraine have not hurt overall U.S. readiness.
We will never go below our minimum requirement for our stockpile. So we will always maintain the capability to defend this country and support our interests.
That was Alex Marquardt reporting. The U.S. has already committed 1,400 Stingers, almost 100 howitzer systems, hundreds of drones and armored vehicles, and tens of thousands of artillery shells to Ukraine. As efforts mount to stop the war, leaders are going against Russian patriarch Kirill. He's been supporting Vladimir Putin and the Ukrainian invasion. In an Italian newspaper, Pope Francis warned the head of the Russian Orthodox Church not to become the Kremlin's altar boy. The Russian Orthodox Church has since scolded the Pope for that comment, cautioning the Vatican that such language could hurt dialogue between the churches. This as the European Union has proposed sanctions against Kirill. The Russian patriarch is among 58 individuals earmarked in a new document. The EU has imposed sanctions against more than 1,000 individuals already in connection with the war. The new sanctions are still waiting for approval by member states. Among the other sanctions the EU put forward Wednesday were a 6-month phase-out of Russian crude imports. Around 40% of the gas the 27-nation committee consumes comes from Russia. This as Russia decided last week to cut gas supplies from Bulgaria and Poland. Polish journalist Paulina Guzik says the population panicked at the start of the war over gas supplies.
When people went wild on social media saying, there is no gas, like the lines are crazy at the gas stations, everyone was kind of like, oh, what do I do now? I have to go to fill up my tank to the gas station. Then we quickly realize as the country that this is a part of propaganda, that this is a part of the misinformation campaign, and that we do have gas.
Paulina went on to say this kind of misinformation is a means of war. Speaking of gas, let's take a look at prices around the U.S. and in New York City. Right now, the national average is about $4.23 a gallon. That's a bit higher from where we were last month, but still lower than the spike back in March when it was around $4.30 per gallon. But there's little relief in New York City, where it is around $4.42 per gallon. The Federal Reserve making history again. For the first time in more than 2 decades, the central bank has raised interest rates by 0.5 percentage point. The aim, it's all in an effort to cool down the worst inflation the U.S. has seen since the Reagan administration. John Lawrence has the story.
The Federal Reserve helped the U.S. economy through the COVID-19 pandemic by dropping rates to near zero. Now the Fed is facing a new challenge, crushing inflation without bringing on a recession.
It's hard to catch up when you have to go very fast. It's also hard to catch up when you actually have to push monetary policy to a tight setting.
Coming up with a so-called soft landing could be difficult, in part because the jobs market is booming, and increasing the interest rate will likely change that.
This is a situation where wages have moved up at the highest rate in a very long time, and people are able to quit their jobs and move to better paying jobs.
The unemployment rate in the U.S. is at 3.6%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is considered full employment by the Fed.
They have to push up the unemployment rate. And in the past, when you've pushed up the unemployment rate, you've almost never been able to avoid a full-fledged recession.
The central bank raised rates by 0.25 percentage point in March, but some say that wasn't soon enough.
They wanted to start late because they wanted to see the economy get to full employment. But I think that's going to turn out, in retrospect, to have been a policy mistake. They should have gone a little bit sooner in terms of removing monetary policy accommodation.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Speaking of budgets, interest rates aren't the only thing getting a hike. Mayor Eric Adams' budget is getting a boost too, and New Yorkers aren't so happy about that either. That's because his new $99.7 billion budget gives its biggest percentage boost to his own office. Adams has requested $204 million for his executive operation. That's up from the $163 million de Blasio allotted. One of the easy criticisms of the former administration was the growing mayor's office budget. An update now on what caused the security cameras to fail ahead of that frightening shooting attack in a Brooklyn subway station. The MTA says a faulty fan triggered a glitch that caused the cameras to fail. 10 people were shot in the April 11th attack in Sunset Park. The suspect, Frank James, is facing a terror-related charge in connection with the shootings. Now, if you're a Queens resident yourself, you know there's a city staple on the corner of Union Turnpike and Utopia Parkway. Yep, the home of St. John's University for the last 152 years. But now that corner has a new name.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Next time you pass by there, you'll be walking on St. John's Way. The New York City Council voted overwhelmingly to approve the measure, recognizing the many contributions the university has made to the local community, the country, and beyond since its founding way back in 1870. And this ceremony was actually years in the making. It was supposed to take place during the 150th anniversary year back in 2020, but of course, the pandemic delayed that. But all good things take time. There's a lot more news headed your way. It's an update that could be troubling for parents. New numbers out about COVID cases in children. Plus,
I don't know how to explain it. Like, I know she's my soulmate.
How a TikTok post led to a miracle for a woman in desperate need of a kidney transplant. And the family that enlisted the help of a few superheroes in their child's battle against cancer.
There are now some big changes to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
She's a California California woman who's been battling chronic kidney disease, and she was desperate to find a donor. She then posted a TikTok video that shared her struggles of survival. As Regina Ureta reports, with that social media post, she found the one person who could save her life.
With tears in her eyes, Ruby recounts the moment her doctor told her it would take almost a decade to find a match who would help her replace one of her kidneys.
I just was in shock mode. I didn't understand why it happened to me if I've always been very healthy.
Ruby was 23 when her entire life took a turn. She says at one point her only focus was attending college, but that quickly changed after experiencing excruciating symptoms.
Every time I would wake up, I would have my face would be swollen and my under eyes particularly.
After being diagnosed, her doctor told her she would need to undergo dialysis treatment. That treatment only caused her even more discomfort and robbed her of a normal life.
All kinds of consequences to either peritoneal or hemodialysis, but if you have kidney failure, you absolutely need it.
Just when she started to lose all hope, her doctors gave her the idea that would change her life once again.
So one day I posted my story on TikTok, and I continued posting my story of my kidney journey.
As she posted her video on TikTok, a donor, Sandra Leone, reached out and offered to be her donor.
I messaged her and I asked her if she had found a donor, and I would scroll through her comments. I saw that a lot of people were commenting, and I remember when I reached out to her, she did tell me that she hadn't found anybody. So I let her know that I was already in the process and that I would talk to my coordinator.
With the same blood type and being similar in age, they became a perfect match, giving Ruby a perfect kidney and gaining a new sister in the life she never thought would be possible to enjoy again.
I don't know how to explain it. I know she's my soulmate.
So emotional. That was Regina Ureta reporting. Ruby is now hoping to change careers and advocate for organ donors. COVID cases are rising again in children here in the U.S. The American Academy of Pediatrics says more than 53,000 kids tested positive last week. That's up 44% from the previous week. It also marks the third consecutive week of increased cases. But COVID numbers are still down significantly from their peak in January. Seeing kids sick can be hard for any parent, and helping them through the treatment they need, especially when it's painful and tiring, can be even harder. Well, one Texas family of a little boy battling leukemia decided to get some help during his chemo treatments from a hero. Teresa Woodard reports.
There is power in any 3-year-old's giggle, but with those eyes and that hair, Leonie's laugh seems particularly powerful.
No more girls!
More so now, after chemo stole all those curls. Leone Hernandez has spent much of the last year at Children's Medical Center in Dallas fighting leukemia. His mom and dad say this place scared him at first. So to tap into courage Leo wasn't sure he had, they turned him into Superman.
I'll give you nuts.
Then came their super family. From The Incredibles to Captain America, from Batman to Spider-Man. They bought all the costumes, and for every chemo and every appointment, suits are on and superhuman strength is activated. Oncologists say mindset matters in a cancer battle, even for a patient still a few months shy of turning 4. Leonie's laugh has power, but this family's love, that's their superpower.
Wow, what a great story. That was Teresa Woodard reporting. Leukemia is actually the most common form of childhood cancer. Still to come on Currents News, picking them was pretty tough. Next, we'll see the winners from the Tablet's Easter art contest. And she's never met her birth mother until now, how one woman had a tearful reunion thanks to DNA technology. Currents News had a busy workday bringing you the top headlines that Catholics should know, but we did have time to welcome some future anchors.
According to experts, the dress is worth at least $8,000. Pair that with $800,000.
Yeah, very good. Caught your mistake. Look weird. These are 7th and 8th graders from St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Academy in Brooklyn. They were invited to the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph by Rector Father Christopher Henyu for a retreat-like event. And after Mass, they were given a tour of our set and control room to see journalism in action.
It's kind of cool. I like how they have a control room and the big church. It's really nice.
The building looks so amazing, looks so beautiful, as the people in this building has done a very good job.
There was a lot of behind the scenes things around here, but there is a lot more than they show on the news.
Crane, I'm sure you've heard a lot. Oh, she has no idea. More than 60 kids got to see behind the scenes, and some even read from a teleprompter, which isn't easy, trust me. And we at DeSales look forward to seeing them bud into professional young journalists one day. And from budding journalists to budding artists, it's the moment students from across the diocese have been waiting for. Who won the Tablet's Easter Art Contest? The winners were announced this week at the Knights of Columbus's Archbishop John Hughes Council in Diker Heights. A special ceremony was held there as the tablet hosted the winners and their families. The competition was tough this year. There were nearly 300 entries and more than 25 schools participated.
I drew Jesus on the top rising, and there were two angels beside him.
It was hard for me to figure out what everyone else would draw, so I wouldn't draw the same thing as they drew.
This was a particularly special year because it was the first time the tablet team got to meet the winners in 3 years. But just like in the past, the winners took home special certificates and cash prizes. If you want to get a glimpse of some of the entries, you can pick up an edition of the tablet in churches now. It was an emotional reunion between a Colorado woman and her birth mother, whom she's never met. Sarah Callahans was put up for adoption in South Korea when she was just 14 months old. Her mother now lives in California, and with the help of some DNA analysis, she found her. Jasmine Veal was there.
There's a car. Sarah Kleinhans is about to meet her half-sister Linda and birth mom, who they call Oma, at any minute. I wonder what she's feeling right now. She is anxiously waiting at a friend's house in Monrovia. She flew in from Colorado with her 2 kids for this reunion that's been decades in the making. It's super real. I just need a sip. At just 14 months old, Sarah was adopted by a family in New Hampshire from Korea with her half-brother. They each had a locket with their mom's picture and their baby picture in it. Her whole life, she's wanted to reconnect with her birth mom.
Every year on my birthday, I think of you. Every single year, and I look out and I go, are you alive? Are you wondering? Are you thinking about me?
They only just spoke on the phone 2 weeks ago, and now the big moment is finally here.
Mama.
Hugs and tears.
I'm so happy. I'm so grateful to you.
As Sarah embraces her mom for the first time after 53 years apart.
I'm here. You're more beautiful in person.
Showing her mom the locket she has kept all these years.
Look what I have. Oh, I found you.
Sarah's half-sister Linda, who she never knew existed, had been looking for Sarah for 15 years. Sarah used the genetic testing company 23andMe to begin her family search. Linda finally found her through Facebook and sent a message.
How selfless do you have to be to know that your child is going to have a better life? And so as a mixed baby, it's a kind of hard time, and it was the late 60s.
So for now, it's the delicate and slow process of getting to know each other.
My grandson? Yeah, your grandson, Addison.
I'm your grandson.
He's 17.
And enjoying the little moments together, like talking about their favorite dish, kimchi.
Did he like kimchi?
What a story. That was Jasmine Veal reporting. Sarah says after some catching up with her birth mother, they plan on having her visit them in Colorado. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.